Minor Bach. This is a piece that is broadly based on Bach's music and arranged by Luo Ni. Thank you, Fady, for the commission. I'll begin by playing through the first couple of phrases of this music for you, then we'll go through it bit by bit, bar by bar, and I'll give you everything you need to learn this whole piece yourself. To start, though, here is what the piece sounds like. Okay, so very much in the spirit and style of Bach, very frank, open sound. The piece is in G minor, 4/4 time. The structure is very straightforward. And because of that, I think you'll find that though it may be difficult to bring it up to speed and to clean it up, to polish it up, the process of actually learning these notes is going to be a little bit easier than you might expect, I think. So let's begin in the home key of G minor, left hand first. We start with 5, 2, 1, seesawing back and forth twice. Then you take all of that, shift it down to C, and you play it again. Same spacing, same pattern. The only difference is the last note, this one, isn't to be played with the second finger, it's to be played with the fourth. So you're going to do a little switch. Watch. Switch to 4, and that gets you into position for the next bar, F. And then the pattern repeats, same distances, same pattern. And into the next bar we go. 3, 1. And this B flat, you're expecting to play it with the left hand, but the right hand actually plays it. So they're kind of splitting the work here. But outside of that, it's the same as you might expect any other bar to be. Next, we drop to E flat. All black notes. Pattern is the same. And the last note, you switch to a 4. And that gets you into position for the next bar. 5, 2, and 1. 2 of these now. You can pause and play as much as you need. You don't have to follow me in real time. I'm giving everything that you need for these 8 bars, but I expect you to pause, play quite a bit here. Next, float on down to D. Switch on the last note to 4, and that gets you in position for the final bar, which is in our home key of G minor, ending on the same position in the same harmony that we started with. Small detail also, as you're learning this, when you go from one bar to the next, from here to C, for example, make sure that you don't panic, right? Just move gently, float down to the next position. No jagged movements, don't rush. Just get there when you get there. You're learning this nice and slow. And in the early stages, you want to inculcate the habit of smooth, comfortable, unpanicked movements. So let me play all of that again with no pauses in between. And that'll be your reference point. You can rewatch this section as much as you need. Switch. Switch. then back to G minor. And there you have it. Practice that as much as you need. I would suggest memorizing it, learning it really well. And then we head into the right hand. We begin with a 5. That's your first outside note. Then we have these 3 inside notes. 2, 1, 2, D, C, D. Thumb drops to B flat. You'll notice that B flat is an octave apart from the one you started with. So that would be one of the outside notes, the lower one of the 2. And then the inside notes again to finish. That's the pattern. And that pattern repeats throughout the piece. That's your motif. Then you play that again. And what you'll notice also is that naturally there emerges a kind of hierarchy between the notes that are being played here. The ones that emerge sort of more important are the 2 outside notes, the B flats. And if I exaggerate that difference for you, you'll see what I mean. That is what kind of naturally comes to the fore. Now, you don't have to bang that away just as I did, but you should kind of shape and sculpt your phrases with that in mind, that these outside notes are going to be the ones that are kind of like the posts in the ground. They're a stabilizing force, and they come through a little bit more obviously than the ones in between. Okay, so there's your first bar. From here, that's our last note. Moving on. Another B flat in the new bar, but then the inside notes now change. We have 3, 2, 3, E flat, D. Bottom note remains the same, and then back to the middles. And you do that twice. So, do that a few times. Get used to that move. As slow as you need. Moving on, bar 3, the pinky drops to an A. The inside notes are now 2, 1, 2, C, B flat, C. Thumb drops to an A, octave apart, octave away from the initial A, and then back to the insides. It's a bit of an awkward one, to be fair. But with a bit of practice, you'll get used to it. Another detail is the thumb is playing the flat here, and for that, and it's not the only place where this happens, but it's the one place that I was reminded of. Because of that, I tend to play further up the key so that the thumb can reach the B flat. If I'm playing down here, there's a huge amount of distance between the thumb and the B flat that I want to play, and I'll have to do this awkward movement or contortion to meet it. So instead, I just move everything up so that I can reach the B flat comfortably. Moving on, 4th bar, A again, middles change, 3, 2, 3. And now the thumb plays a B flat. And you'll notice this is the first time that the outside notes are not an octave apart. They're just shy of an octave. Okay, put all that together. Be sure not to allow your wrist to tense up as you're learning this. This piece is notes throughout. You don't really have a chance to rest. It's all just 16th notes, unceasing series of 16ths. So as you're playing, you should be looking to rest as you play and not accumulate tension. So just keep that in mind in the early stages of learning this. You should always be reminding yourself to relax your wrist. Let's put them together. The nice thing about this piece, at least to start, is the rhythm is very simple. The right hand for all of these bars, 16ths, and only 16ths. The left hand in all of these bars, 8ths. So that means we have 2 notes in the right hand for every 1 note in the left. Here's the first segment. Take a few moments to learn that well. Once you learn it well, that will be the kernel out of which the whole of the rest of the piece emerges. Twice. Notice also that it's the thumb of the right hand that is the only one that's needing to move. Everything else is quite stationary. It's just the thumb of the right hand that has to move from C to B flat and back to C. Relax your wrist. Allow it to bob and breathe as you play. Okay, let's move on. From here, think about where you're going. Left hand down to C. Right hand. That one. Quite intuitive, I think you'll find. And the pattern continues. So practice that a few times, get comfortable with it. And what you'll notice is that one thing you're going to notice as you're doing this is that once you're in the bar and you kind of get the ball rolling within the bar, it works pretty well. The difficulty is moving from one bar to the next. The transitions, those are really the story of this piece. And that's really the key to learning this really well, is making sure that each transition is really well learned. And the way that I would recommend you doing this is to practice by starting from the last few notes of one bar and playing into the next few notes of the next bar. So for example, in the first bar we have, let's say from here, where the thumbs come together. That. So from the thumbs here, into the next bar. And let's say we stop at the next alignment of thumbs. I would suggest practicing that as a little unit, as a little island. That way, once you learn that well, you'll have a little bridge from one bar to the next, and you won't have this feeling that you're constantly rushing to find the new position. So this is crucial. You might be thinking I'm kind of giving you some kind of general, maybe generic advice, and that it's something that, you can take it or leave it, but I really think that it's not that. It's much more important than that, and it is really the key to this piece. Learning the transitions, I cannot overstate how important that is for a piece like this. So the transition from bar 1 to 2 is, do that a whole bunch of times until you're satisfied and you feel like you know it well. Once you feel good about that, put both bars together. Moving on, think about where you're going. Oh, actually, we should have ended on a 4 here. That leads you into the next bar. So the next bar, think about where you're going. Left hand is all Fs. And the right hand we have, and the pattern continues. Learn that well. Once you've learned the bar well, this third bar, then, like before, go from the last few notes of bar number 2, which is, let's see, it was here, right? The thumbs came together here. A 4 on the left hand. That allows you to arrive in bar 3. That. Learn that well and practice that well. Once you've learned that to your satisfaction, start from bar 2 and play all the way through to the end of bar 3. Moving on, think about where you're going. 3 and 1, and that's your right hand. So this is the one where the right hand takes over a note from the left. And that is because this B flat belongs both to the melody of the right hand and the accompaniment in the left. So there's a kind of alignment of 2 notes on one key, but you're not really going to be wanting to play one note with 2 fingers. So you're going to have to choose. Is the left hand going to play it or the right hand? Well, I've already made that choice for you. By teaching you this fingering, the right hand will be the one who takes it. And that's the bar. Once you have that learned, that's your 4th bar. Learn it well. Go back to the last few notes of bar number 3. And there's your transition. You learned that little island as well. Once you've learned that island to your satisfaction, practice from 3 and all the way to the end of 4. And there you have it. That's pretty good. Now let me give you one final exercise that will almost certainly be helpful and maybe necessary for some of you. As you're learning this piece, especially when you're learning it with the right hand on its own, you might notice that you sound a little clumsy. You might sound uneven, right? That you can't quite control the evenness of your playing, and that as a result, it sounds a little bit clunky and maybe amateurish. That's totally normal. Here is what you can do to remedy this. Instead of just practicing it as written, which is straight, equidistant notes, instead of just doing that, what I'd recommend is staggering the rhythm and playing dotted rhythms. Long, short, long, short, long. Then tighten up and make the shorts even shorter. Etc. Then reverse the polarity. Make it so that you're starting with the short one. Etc. Hugely useful little tidbit. So if you do that, and I don't mean just play that once or twice. I mean, practice that for a few days and teach your hand to play with these kind of sharp dotted rhythms. And then after a couple of days of doing that, if you come back to the music as written, straight, you'll find that it's much easier to control and hold on to the evenness of all of these notes. Moving on, bar 5. Okay. I don't want to go too long on this one, so we're going to continue now into the next part of the tutorial. I think I'm going to move a little bit quicker now because I've given you all the fundamentals here, and everything I've shown you for these few bars can be applied in the next however many we have. So we're going to be moving a little quicker as we travel into part number 2. So come and join me. Find the rest of this tutorial series in my library, and on we get. See you in just a moment. See you soon.